Okay, so Pam Bondi, we have some questions. Pardon me?
You have Trump derangement syndrome!
Is Trump the greatest president of all time? Yes, and thank you for a civil question. Okay, well, he's also mentioned in the Epstein files 1 million times.
I wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire!
Is Trump actually God? Yes, he is above God. Okay, can we focus on why we're here?
If you were the last man on Earth, I'd rip off your head to ensure humanity died!
Could you at least turn around and acknowledge the survivors?
Elmo says Pam Bondi's a cunt.
The world needs that more than you know. The halftime show should be in English. And it's broken middle-aged conservative white women. He should have brought the country together. Why is that a job of a musician? We're opening an investigation into it. An investigation into the halftime show? We have no idea what he was saying. The fact you can't speak Spanish is a you problem. We're also questioning Bugs, Lola, and the Easter. No affiliation.
What is it good for?
Oh, the guy who shut down El Paso airspace.
We were under attack by drug cartel drones.
It was a balloon.
What was?
The thing you shut down and closed airspace for.
Was a balloon?
Yeah.
But it was black, so shooting it's okay.
Can't believe seeing you makes things feel normal. The Pentagon needs to buy more coal power. Why?
It's the future of energy.
And that's our normal.
And shut down Gallup's presidential approval ratings.
They've been around for 88 years.
Yeah, well, mine are too low.
So cancel the ratings. That's how you fix it.
In the worm brain.
The threat to America.
Why? Because I changed child vaccine policy?
Yeah, and now kids are dying of measles. What could you possibly add? Kids should be taking vaccines.
Are you arguing with me?
Oh, a fake doctor and a brainworm deciding the future of our children. We're fucked.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and this is In Time. I hope all of you are as tired of winning as I am. Donald Trump has scored a record 2 government shutdowns in 1 year, the first year of his second term, and is set to get a 3rd government shutdown as of midnight tomorrow night. We'll be discussing that in a minute, but I'd also like to point out a record case of the measles, or record outbreak of the measles in this country since it was declared eradicated more than 20 years ago. Well done. He also has... actually, wait a minute now. Hold on a sec. Yes. Oh, he is both first and second place, which is difficult to do in terms of the length of government shutdowns. We congratulate you, Mr. President. And lastly, for number of mentions in the Epstein files with over 1 million, making an average of about 1.6 per page. I'm wondering if there's any reason they're not releasing the last half of these files. Thank you for joining us. We have 2 pieces of breaking news. Goldman Sachs' top lawyer, Kathy Rumler, is resigning. She also was White House counsel to President Barack Obama. Emails have linked her to Jeffrey Epstein, whom she described as, quote, an older brother, and downplayed his sex crimes, which she at least knew about the conviction. What else she knew, we don't know. She has just announced that she is stepping down from Goldman Sachs. That's literally published like 3 minutes ago. So we have that. It is one of the very few ties to the Obama administration. But as was pointed out, and I think rightfully so, in the hearing, or whatever you call that thing that happened yesterday, that this really spans 3 or 4 administrations, and it's very hard to figure out who knew what when. Clearly, there was an interest in prosecuting him. Clearly, there were FBI bureau administrations that were interested and capable of doing it, under presidents capable of doing it, but clearly there have been ones far more reluctant to do so. So this does probably almost certainly go bigger than just a single administration. How much, we don't know. We do know that CBS is reporting that for the most part, the source of Epstein's the women Epstein trafficked was Russia. Now, we take by that, and this is important. We know he got through Jean Bernal. He got it was a modeling scout who got him at least half of the women that he had gotten, but there was another scout whose name was redacted most of the time, but not entirely. Why he's not being investigated, I don't know, but he clearly provided women, and we've already gotten into that. Some of them were Ukrainian, they were from various other places, but CBS is reporting that ultimately Russia, by that it appears they mean Putin himself, was involved in providing women to Epstein. That needs more examination. I'm curious. Obviously, Epstein had contacts with Putin and turned down a meeting with Putin because he felt he wasn't getting enough time. But we also know he was speaking with Dmitry Medvedev, who was the economic advisor and former president. More to that Gordian knot. By the way, for those of you who have noticed, this was supposed to be a downtime with Commander Lance McMillan, but Commander was not able to make it today. We had a good amount of news to cover, so we're going to get into that. My hope is that things are going to calm down just a little bit. It kind of, I'm sensing a lull. Sometimes I get these things wrong. We'll see. We've been able to not have to do a show every day, which I'm sure delights everybody. So, but having said that, we have another piece of breaking news. A federal judge has ruled today that the Trump administration has violated the rights of people detained by ICE in Minnesota, saying that the agency has stashed them in ill-equipped, overcrowded facilities without access to attorneys. Now, this is, again, what we've talked about, which is about the only branch of government that's functioning right now is the judiciary below the SCOTUS level, which is the vast majority of the judiciary, actually. The SCOTUS level is just 9 judges, and the everybody below that, the district, state, and federal judges, have been doing a spectacular job. I would disagree with only a few of the decisions, and most of them all coming from the one that Trump deliberately put in. It's not Orange County. It's Tampa. I think it's Tampa Bay, Florida. He installed her there himself in his home district at the behest of Bannon, so that if anybody had any arguments with anything that happened with him, Mar-a-Lago, anything like that, it would go before this one judge, Eileen Cannon. And she's been reversed on appeal unanimously at least twice, and that doesn't seem to slow her down in the least, and Trump would be in jail if he had not done that move. So, short of that, judges have been doing particularly well. I'd like to point something out, and in case you have a MAGA friend who says that they are illegals, they have no rights. Well, if you don't believe in the Constitution, then fine. But actually, the Constitution is really rather clear on this, and this is something that, let me just make sure I get the right amendments up here. This is something that a number of people don't understand, which is that The Constitution applies to everybody in the United States, everybody within its jurisdiction, and it clearly says that. So that means if you're here illegally, if you're a criminal here, you still have rights if you're not a U.S. citizen. Now, it talks about what creates a citizen, and it talks about the rights of citizens versus the rights of persons. But as long as you're a person, you actually have a number of enumerated rights in the Constitution. Now, Section 1 of the 14th Amendment says, all persons, so that's any human being, born or naturalized in the U.S. or subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States. Now, what they mean here is not anybody who's subject to the jurisdiction, but who is born or naturalized in a place that's subject to the jurisdiction. So the commas there are important. So it doesn't mean everybody in the U.S. is a citizen. They're not saying that. But they have just defined what a citizen is. So it's crystal clear that people who wrote the Constitution and subsequently amended it know the difference between a person and a citizen. No state shall make any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. What that means is you have to respect other citizens of the United States, regardless of which state they're in. Nor shall any state deprive any person. This is the same clause, and they've changed from citizen to person. That includes illegal immigrants. That includes amputees. That includes orange Cheetos trying to take over the world. It's a person. We all have a rough idea of what a person is. Of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of these laws. Every single immigrant, legal, illegal, undocumented, whatever you want to call them, everybody within our jurisdiction has constitutional protections, period, end of discussion. It's not negotiable. So, are they patriots or not? If you're a patriot, you believe in the Constitution, which applies to everyone. It says so. It's written there. MAGA should read it sometime. Fourth Amendment says the same thing. The rights of the people to be secure in their persons, not citizens. It doesn't say the right of citizens to be secure. The right of people to be secure in their persons. Houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and persons or things to be seized. Persons. Persons. It's the Fourth Amendment. Anybody who says that illegal immigrants have given up their rights by coming into the country illegally doesn't say that anywhere in the Constitution. They are making that shit up. That is BS. They just don't like these people. And maybe there are legitimate complaints, but we can't have that discussion because we're too busy arguing whether or not the Constitution means what it explicitly says. And we're too busy treating human beings like animals. Once we stop doing that, then let's talk about what legitimate complaints you've got. But first things first, we don't torture people. We don't stick 20 people to a cell with only a bucket for a toilet and no access to running water. Alligator Alcatraz is a human rights violation that's recognized by basically every country on. There are mullahs in Iraq going, holy shit, why didn't we think of this? A camp with hungry alligators nearby that can just eat the body? Wow, you Americans are so inventive. The Constitution is clear. So when Human Rights Watch decided to sue ICE for violating the absolute constitutionally given rights of detainees held illegally because they were held without probable cause and or a warrant. A judicial warrant does not, administrative warrant does not count. And that's clear too. All an administrative warrant is somebody at some department, I can issue an administrative warrant. I'm the chief administrator of In Time. Here is my warrant. Done. That's an administrative warrant. All right. I'm a little triggered by the Cheeto today, I guess. So, U.S. District Judge, and this is what I've said before. I know everybody's scared, and I know, we're going to give you some more insight into the coming apocalypse later in the show. So, I don't want to diminish the impact that we're all feeling of this, and it's going to take a long time to recover for this country. But having said that, right now the judiciary is intact, save for the SCOTUS, which is not a trivial exception, but nonetheless, I'll take my blessings where I can get them, and the judiciary's been handing Trump his ass. At some point, he's going to start completely ignoring them. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. We'll get to that later, too. Anyways, the government suggests with minimal explanation and even less evidence that doing so, meaning providing them with the most basic human needs, would result in chaos. This, by the way, from U.S. District Judge Nancy Brassail, who is a Trump appointee. The Constitution does not permit the government to arrest thousands of individuals and then disregard their constitutional rights because it would be too challenging to honor those rights, or because of the color of their skin or how they entered the country. Sorry that it's inconvenient. So that is brand new. She has also ordered that defendants allocated substantial resources to sending thousands of agents to Minnesota, detaining thousands of people and housing them in their facilities. Defendants cannot suddenly lack resources when it comes to... She's good. She is good. Defendants cannot suddenly lack resources when it comes to protecting detainees' constitutional rights. In a similar fashion, defendants' 11th hour declaration that any change to current operating procedures would require significant resources that Whipple does not have. Well, they're about to not have it, but does not have and is not required to have based on ICE policy. Let's see, wait a minute. In similar fashion, their claim, I think there's a clause missing there. This may have just been poorly written. But the United States Constitution, not the Whipple operational capacity or internal ICE policies, is what sets the floor for reasonable access to counsel. Yeah. Did I have to explain this shit to a Republican? Blows my fucking mind. They're obviously, I shouldn't have to explain it to a conservative, because a conservative would already know this. All right. So, yet one more rebuke of... newly discovered evidence in this matter is materially inconsistent with the allegations in the complainant affidavit. Prosecutors say, so they're trying to get it thrown out. At any rate, she has given... I'm not sure who I need to read the... We'll get the actual... a PDF of the actual ruling on the Discord as soon as we can. It's... let's see, it was... LHM, the Advocates for Human Rights, and... this is... LHM is one of the people who had been detained, and through her next friend, CA. Okay, so the judge also ordered that the facility be inspected tomorrow. I don't know who is going to do the inspection. This literally came across our desk right before the show. And again, the order is not yet on the Discord, but we'll get it there. So... Yeah, that's the breaking news before the show that was planned. Now, I said earlier about them not having enough money, and Trump is on the cusp of a record-breaking 3 government shutdowns in the first half of his second term. I'm going to just check on one more thing here. By a vote of 52 to 47. So basically only 3 votes, because the tie is going to go to the Republicans. They only had 3 votes over a 50-50. Not enough to block a filibuster. You can assume any bill basically is going to get filibustered in the Senate. That's why in the Senate you require a 2/3 majority to pass. They aren't even close at this point. This was a DHS funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security, and it was the only funding bill that did not pass. The rest of the budget was put into separate bills so that if there was an argument over a particular thing, it wouldn't shut down the whole government. You'd think they'd have thought of this sooner. So they have, they have until midnight tomorrow night. Representatives from the House are negotiating with the Senate to try to get the senators to come up to the amount that they need without losing people in the House. So there's negotiations on all sides. It's essentially 4-way negotiations. And the problem is the House has already been sent home for an 11-day break. Now, they can be recalled back, but they get 48 hours to be recalled back, which means that basically it looks like at this point a shutdown is impossible, even if a deal were reached right now, unless they could get enough back in 24 hours to pass a compromise bill in the House and then have the Senate make the same bill. So we're going to see it looks like we're going to see the funding fail to go through. How important is this? Well, a number of let me see if I can, because I had a list here. All right. It always throws me when we get breaking news literally as the show is starting. So what you're going to see closed is FEMA. FEMA will still be available, but only for the absolute minimum of services. Hopefully we're not going to need FEMA, but they'll have some kind of presence. What it is, I don't know. This may have what I was looking for. U.S. Coast Guard will suspend all missions except for those of national security or the protection of life and property. That probably is a downside for the drug trafficking, and has in fact been used by Republicans, saying that Democrats don't care about fentanyl deaths because of what's going to happen to the Coast Guard in this shutdown. CISA, that's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. That's one of the areas I'm conflicted about, because I've heard from people intelligence adjacent that we actually have far better cybersecurity than we let on, and it wouldn't be the first time we've dramatically undersold our abilities. We did that with nuclear weapons as well. Even the presidents lost elections because they had to lie and undersell how many weapons we had. So it's possible, but my understanding is U.S. cybersecurity is a distant second to Russian hackers, and there's plenty of evidence to support that from what I can see. The TSA will also be going down. This is going to result in the exact same problems we had last time. Air traffic controllers are not going to get paid. TSA workers are not going to get paid. They will be required to show up, but they're not going to get paid. They're probably still pissed about last time, which means, in my view, we are going to see flight cancellations and delays starting much sooner as they start to call in sick and or quit altogether in a system that's already overwhelmed. U.S. Secret Service has said that that many of the upgrades to their protection details after the attempted assassination of Trump, they're going to be putting on hold, but other than that, they're going to be continuing at least all of the mandatory details that they are on. FEMA, I already talked about. ICE will mostly continue to operate during the shutdown. The employees are considered essential. They will still get some pay. Trump included in the tax bill last year around $75 billion for ICE explicitly. So if there's a shutdown, they don't completely lose the ability to pay ICE personnel, which gets back to me kind of thinking it's almost like its own personal police force. He's just like, oh, I want to make sure these guys stay funded. Air traffic controllers can go to hell. Even the Secret Service, I don't care about. ICE is going to be funded. They won't be presumably at their full, the normal amount they get paid, but they're still going to get paid. So that's what we're looking at starting tomorrow night, midnight, and the likelihood of that is, I would say, over 98% at this point. There's a theoretical deal, could be made tonight, tomorrow. The House members who either live in the area or haven't left come in, they vote, the Senate votes, and it passes. But it's unlikely, highly unlikely. Meanwhile, Border Czar Tom Homan suggested, he announced the end of Operation Metro Surge. And that's actually we're going to talk a lot about that tonight because I think there's been some misconceptions about how and why Metro Surge occurred, what they've been doing in Minnesota. And I'll be honest, we've talked about what they're doing in Minnesota and why several times. And this is counter to what I would have expected given the way we've discussed this. So I'm surprised now. Mr. Homan is really kind of a hard ass. I mean, really a hard ass. He aside from a $50,000 bribe that he took, and I'm comfortable saying that he took it even though he hasn't been convicted, because the reality is I've seen the video where 2 undercover FBI agents hand him the $50,000 and he walks away. I've seen the video. I've seen the interviews with the FBI officers. I've seen the entire sting operation. I'm comfortable in saying it happened. So he is nonetheless a bit of a hard ass, and when asked how he could defend deporting children, American citizens' children, under the age of 4, which he was asked, he said, "We've never done that. I don't know what you're talking about." He said, well, here's this woman, Mexican, and you deported her and her 4-year-old child. And he's like, whoa, we are a compassion. This is a country of compassion. I'm a man of compassion. And ICE is a compassionate organization, Homeland Security. That's the American way. It would be immoral to deport the child for the crimes of the mother. So we've done the most compassionate thing someone can do in this situation. We didn't just deport the mother and send her away. We gave her a choice as to whether or not she wanted to bring her child with her. She chose to bring her child with her, and they left. The mother made the choice. We didn't do a thing. Are you kidding me? You're blaming me for the child leaving? And I think this was on Fox News that they still asked the follow-up, the actual follow-up, which Fox doesn't usually bother to do. But they asked the follow-up question, which was, well, wait a minute, you're still really punishing the child because the child is a U.S. citizen, and this is Sophie's choice. I mean, you're basically saying, leave your child, who knows what will happen to your kid, and you leave the country and probably never see your child again. You don't think that that's a human rights violation. He's like, whoa. She's the one who made that decision. She decided to have a kid in this country. You should blame her for what she's doing to her child. That's the man who went in to replace Bovino. Now, Bovino was a clown, but replacing him was probably a good idea. Now, I fully expected Homan would go in there and things would elevate like crazy because he's insane. He really reminds me very much of, if you've ever seen it, it's worth a watch. It's not a movie I'd watch repeatedly, but I'm very glad I saw it at least once, which is The Siege with Denzel Washington, which, by the way, became the #1 rented movie after 9/11. It was made before 9/11 about a terrorist cell in New York that it's a full cell. And so they're engaged in multiple attacks. And even when they don't survive the attacks, because it's an actual cell, the attacks just keep coming. And so Denzel Washington is an FBI agent. The CIA is involved. And the head of the military at the time is Bruce Willis. And to what I thought was a sort of a brilliant stroke of writing, Bruce Willis goes before Congress and they say, we want the military in New York. And he says, no, you don't. You don't for the following reasons. Here are the laws you're probably violating. And, you know, the U.S., we're a blunt instrument. You need the FBI and you need the CIA and you need people in there you don't want us to do it. I said, well, if we order you to do it, what are you going to do? He goes, we're going to go in there, we're going to lock it down, and we're going to, you know, do whatever it takes to find the enemy and kill them. Period. And when Congressman's listening goes, that's my kind of guy. That's like, you're in. So he goes in and literally occupies the entire city of New York, and he ends up at one point, he's got someone that he thinks is a suspect. And it's the military. He just needs to think it's a suspect. The FBI tells him, no, this guy had nothing to do with it. He's like, well, we'll find out soon enough. Tortures the man. Tortures the man so much, eventually it becomes clear the man's not going to survive. He's still alive, but there's no way. So he does the humane thing, pulls out his gun, and shoots him in the head. But he comes out, he's washing his hands. He's like, guy didn't know anything. And you can tell he'd rather not have killed someone, but having said that, that's what happens in a war. And he's at war, and he's going to go do whatever he's got to do. And this was a civilian. Oops, civilian casualties happen. So that's who I think of when I think of the guy that they put in charge down there. And what does he do? Pulls not everybody out. I was about to say everybody. Pulls out the entire search. Why? I have no idea. I am at a loss. Been workshopping it a bit with some people on In Time. We're trying to, because we're all just like, he did what? I mean, everything I've seen points towards Trump, and everything that Trump has said points towards him chomping at the bit to use the Insurrection Act, which is why nonviolence is so important. One of the many reasons it's so important. And that's why ICE has been instigating and shooting people. And we've seen the footage, and we've got the new footage now of like, okay, you know what, things are too quiet. It's time to amp it up. And they go out and shoot a woman 5 times for a bumper. You know, they just hit bumpers, and it looks like it's because ICE stopped short. Goes out, puts 5 in the chest. That sounds reasonable. You know, actually, I mean, I suppose, I mean, if I were the only one armed, that would be kind of cool. You could just go out, I was like, did you just hit my car? But that's kind of not how this country works, and I don't want to be for ICE, and I'd really like it not to be Mad Max the Road Warrior. So this is what we're looking at with ICE, who's completely untrained, and we all know what's happened there over the last month. And what does he do? Says he's pulling everybody out. Why? Well, I could guess. I've got my theories, but I don't have any. This is one of the few times I can't even listen. You guys are on a news show. I'm supposed to look like I know what I'm talking about, so at least I could make something up for you guys. But I haven't. they've done. I should never make faces like that. I have to learn to stop doing that. Anyways, I'm at a loss. There's a couple of possibilities. One of the first ones that comes to mind. Morale at ICE is probably starting to get low. As much as it's got a number of people who clearly enjoy instigating and creating violence, it's got a lot of people who didn't sign up for this. They aren't getting any sleep because the hotels, I mean, the protests are working. The protests are working. If they're shouting outside the hotel, they're not getting any sleep. They're, getting harassed, yelled at, the whole 9 yards all the time. And now it's like they're seeing the ones that they respect within the ICE organization are either getting pulled or getting involved in these shootings. And there isn't the protection they expected because everybody's got a camera and for some strange reason believes their eyes over Herr Trump. So morale is probably low. The impending shutdown is going to cause problems, even though they've got 75 million or it had to be 75 billion. How much was it? 75 billion. That 75 billion is for ICE over the next 4 years. So, and I don't know how quickly ICE burns through money, but I think my suspicion is it's pretty quickly, especially if they're putting up ICE in hotels. So they'd rather be drawing from the general budget, and they can't do that because Homeland Security is going to be shut down as of Friday. So it may be anticipating this. He knew and said, get out, and we can always come back or go somewhere else. It may be, I don't know. There's always the possibility, we think it's got to be something logical that would make sense to us and what we know and see. Maybe there's an argument between Homan and or Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem or something like that, and I really don't know. I'm glad they're leaving. I'm very glad they're leaving. So that does bring kind of why they went there ostensibly in the first place. And I would like to get to that but before we do, there is one other piece of news I do need to hit because it's really big. Trump has redeclared all of the endangerment findings in the 2009 greenhouse gas determination to be not harmful to human health. What this means is, and let's see, I forget, I would like to figure out how many, what is it? I think it's 9 different greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, were labeled in 2009 as a hazard to human health. This meant that they could be regulated by the EPA, excuse me. By saying that they're not hazardous to human health, that means the EPA no longer has the ability to regulate them. Now, the EPA was already kind of hit at the kneecaps with the decision saying that it was the Congress, this was the Supreme Court decision that said Congress actually had to individually do every act. They couldn't delegate to the EPA and so on and so forth. That we'll see. But what this means is the EPA will, if not already, will soon no longer be able to regulate planet warming pollution from oil and gas, power plants, vehicles, or any other carbon emitting facility. So President Donald Trump announced earlier today, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, which declared that these gases were a danger to our health. He called the endangerment finding disastrous. It was all a scam, a giant scam. This is a ripoff of the country by Obama and Biden. Interestingly, the head of the EPA said in the EPA's press release, quote, referred to by some as the holy grail of climate change religion, the endangerment finding is now eliminated. But then today, when the announcement was made with Trump, he said, today, the Trump EPA has finalized the single largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States of America, referred to by some as the holy grail of federal regulatory overreach. The 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding is now eliminated, which is probably the largest blow yet in the U.S. to combating climate change. Along those lines, last month, the U.S. suffered record high flu-like symptom infections. Flu-like, infections. So not confirmed flu, but believed to be flu. Highest on record, 72,000 in New York for 1 week alone, according to the CDC. For last year, there were 2,276 measles cases. As of the 5th of February this year, we have 733 measles cases. As of the 5th of February, we are projected to have more than 10 times that many measles cases, more than 8,000 projected measles cases by the end of the year. For reference, 6 years ago, in 2020, we had 13 cases of the measles. As of February 3rd of this year, we estimate that COVID infections are declining in roughly 9 states. However, COVID infections is growing in 13 states, and the pace of growth is expected to ramp up as fewer and fewer people are getting their COVID vaccines. We are once again winning the race to bring back diseases previously defeated by actual scientists. Like I said, welcome to the apocalypse. We are only midway through the flu season, and hospitals are recording outside of COVID a 22-year record high rate of bed use. So, now I would like to point out something. RFK Jr. is, in my view, the single largest bearer of responsibility for this. He has said that nobody should get the MMR, or at least not get them together. People aren't getting them. People are questioning them because even though he's not a vaccine denier, he knows that vaccines will kill you. So, what's happening is people aren't getting... So, measles, which was declared eradicated, we had 13 cases in 2020. We're going to have probably 8,000 cases this year, highly lethal, usually to kids, and it's not going to stop. I mean, it's going to stop for some people. I had MMR. I'm not worried, but so it's disgusting. I honestly don't blame him. I think he's out of his fucking mind. I think that worm ate something that he probably needed. I think he believes that he's competent to make these evaluations. He's obviously not. Every scientist that's spoken with him says he doesn't know the first thing about science. He doesn't know the method. He doesn't know the process. He doesn't understand even the objectives of science, which you might think are simple, but if you know the first thing about science, it turns out they're nuanced. Science isn't about finding what's true. Thank God, because that's impossible. But for something that's not about finding the truth, in the last 400 years, we've accomplished more with science than we did in the 200,000 years before that. 200,000 years. We get what? Glue, rope, paper. Then we discover science, and we land a man on the moon and bring him back alive. Ain't perfect, but god damn, that's good. And the average human life expectancy more than doubles. And I can watch movies on a device I hold. Yeah. And I can complain to my congressman through a text, what has science ever done for me? Send. It's the people that enable him. It's the people that say he's qualified. It's the people who don't sit there and say he's insane, he doesn't know it, and get him. And he has some blame himself because he seems to have enough cognitive ability. He should realize he is just talking out his ass the whole fucking time. So, we'll see. With luck, the Trump administration, they're having issues. They can't. Either, for whatever reason, ICE is now out of Minneapolis. A huge part of that has to be the protests. So for those who say the peaceful protests don't work, but I between that, the pressure, Pam Bondi's insane performance yesterday, and every congressman knows it, even the Republicans. And they're all wondering how long before the wheels fall off this thing. Everybody's looking for a lifeboat, and we showed you, let me bring this back up here, because I think the fact that Trump put this up, don't be a panicking. We're winning, and we're not slowing. The fact that he felt obligated to remind you not to panic. Again, that's something things you don't want your airplane pilot to say. Don't panic. The President of the United States just told his constituents not to panic. That's a good sign. But having said that, we do know the Kristi Noem impeachment is unlikely to succeed for a number of reasons. So far, it looks like Congress is not behind it, but more and more people are getting behind the Epstein files, and what we've shown so far, the Oversight Committee is really genuinely serious about going through this. The number of victims who stood up and stood in Congress publicly, went on the record, and there are people on the right, people who voted for MAGA twice, maybe even 3, 4, or 5 times, who despise this. They really wanted to see the Epstein files released, and that was part of his platform, and he's clearly fighting that. I hear that Mark Reed has joined us. Mark, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Let's see, we talked about how America is winning. We are winning in a measles comeback. Measles is making an awesome comeback in the U.S. So is influenza and COVID. So we're winning on those fronts. We're about to shut down the government for a record 3 times in a president's first half of their term. Not many people can do that. And as I said earlier, first or second place, right? That's not good enough for Trump. Trump is both first and second for longest government shutdown in U.S. history. So we're winning. Yeah. I feel good. So I am sick of winning, though. Oh, that does remind me. Before I get back to the ice and why everybody was there, I do want to share with you. Oh dear. Let me just see. This was a Trump. I still say I'm going to call it a tweet. Let me see. Unfortunately, you know what? One of those things. So give me a sec. Well, Mark, thank you very much for joining us. And I haven't even checked the live chat yet, so I apologize for that. What I'm trying to do right now is find... this was one of the ones fell through the cracks. I should have brought it up yesterday, and it just went through. It's absolutely insane. I'm wondering if I can get it. I've got it here, but rather than just read it to you, I'd kind of like to show it to you. So give me a second here to oh, God. Mark, do I have to correctly pronounce Aussie to become an Aussie, or can I just say, get me the hell out of here? I mean, I love the regime. I'm not worried about anything. Let me check in on the live chat since I'm being such a smart ass. I do have what I want to show. I can't. I'm glad I didn't go into comedy. It's a terrible time for comedians, and the reason is Trump is so absurd all on his own. How do you make something funnier than just what he does in reality? And I've heard Patton Oswalt, and I've heard a number of guys talk about this. It's just, Mouty's here too. Good to see you, Mouty. I'm not going to recap, but yeah, we're winning. We're winning everywhere. All right. So Trump had this to say, and I'm questioning the dementia thing again, but oh dear. Okay. Let's see. As everyone knows, the country of Canada has treated the United States very unfairly for decades. Now things are turning around for the USA, and fast. But imagine Canada is building a massive bridge between Ontario and Michigan. This is what we talked about yesterday, or the day before now. The Bondi thing really made me think I took way too many hallucinogens in college. They own both the Canada and United States side. Of course, built it with virtually no U.S. content. No, it was all U.S., all of it. So this is just blatant lie. President Barack Hussein Obama stupidly gave them a waiver so they could get around the Buy American Act and not use any American products, including our steel. Now the Canadian government expects me, as the President of the United States, to permit them to just take advantage of America. What does the United States of America get? Absolutely nothing. Ontario won't even put up U.S. spirits, beverages, and other alcoholic products on their shelves, and they are absolutely prohibited from doing so. And now, on top of everything else, Prime Minister Carney wants to make a deal with China, which will eat Canada alive. We'll just get all the leftovers, which implies that we want to eat Canada alive. He said literally, just said the quiet part out loud. We want to be the ones to eat them alive. Okay. I don't think so. The first thing China will do is terminate all the ice hockey being played in Canada and permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. The tariffs... I'm sorry, I wanted to say that with a straight face, but okay. I gotta finish this. Okay, so China is going to eliminate all ice hockey being played in Canada. Okay. That worm, is the worm contagious? The tariffs in Canada changed us from our dairy products have for many years being unacceptable, putting our farmers at great financial risk. No, that's when you tariff China, the soybeans. That's what does it. But anyways, I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated and I am fully paid off by the rich oligarch who owns the only competing bridge. Oh, sorry, I don't think that line was in there. And more importantly, Canada treats the United States with fairness and the respect we deserve. We will start negotiations immediately. With all that we have given them, we've threatened the shit out of them. I don't understand. They are literally increasing their military budget because of what we're doing. Canada, and I would be too, by the way. I'm not blind. They're right to. I mean, I'm sorry to all my Canadian friends. I'll donate to your military for defense. Absolutely. I'm sorry that you're in this position. Oh my God. Yeah. So, you heard it here first on In Time, and I think this is why you come to this channel. I'm very proud that we can bring you this kind of breaking news. China will be ending the Stanley Cup in Canada. It's been a good however many years the Stanley Cup's been around. All right. Good. We needed some levity. Anytime I feel down about the state of things, I just look at Trump's Twitter feed, laugh my ass off, maybe give myself a hernia for laughing too hard, and then get right back to what we're talking about. So, you've all heard about Medicare fraud in Minnesota. And, and while checking, I did check the live chat, but what I didn't do is check to see if we've had any super chats, and that's downright rude. So let me quickly get back to the live chat. And Sinister Porpoise, $2. You can count on me to make corny math jokes. Thank you. I think we need jokes about the fact that Trump is in the Epstein files 1 million times. I remember when we realized it was 40,000, and most news organizations wouldn't say 40,000 because what was the reason? They were saying 3,000. Oh, yeah, 3,000 because it was 3,000 up until the last drop of, what was it, 300,000 documents or however many they dropped, or the full 3 million, whatever it was. But the people had just gone through and done a search and did how many times does his name show up. It was 40,000. Now it's 1 million. I'd like to know how many times he'd be in the Epstein files if he actually knew Epstein. So, corruption in Minnesota, is it real? Bad news. Not only is it real, it's about the largest corruption in U.S. history, at least in terms of theft against Medicare and Medicaid. There's no evidence I've seen that Governor Tim Walz knew anything about it. There's every evidence that I've seen that he's been trying to fight it, and even last month said he would not run for a third term so that he could explicitly dedicate all of his time not to running and campaigning, but to ending the corruption that is occurring there in regards to ripping off Medicare and Medicaid. The federal government asked Walz how much their corruption there was. He said he didn't know. They asked how much had been stolen. He said that he didn't know. They said, well, is it, 100 million? He said probably significantly more than that. 500 million? Don't know. Could it be $1 billion? He said, yes, it could be. So the complaints about Medicare and Medicaid fraud are legit and have had some significant consequences that a lot of people probably don't think about. And we're going to talk about some of those tonight. But obviously, you don't send ICE in to fix Medicare and Medicaid fraud. So now that was, you may remember, I don't know how many of you thinking back remember wait, didn't they say that they were sending ICE in because of the fraud? And it's to get rid of people, but why Minnesota? And why? Well, because of all the fraud there. Yeah, but why ICE? Because presumably all the fraud was being done by immigrants. The idea being that it was done by Somalis. How did this come about? Nick Shirley, who I am not going to put his picture up. I am not going to say his name again if I can help it, because he has way too many subs as it is. He is James O'Keefe, just younger. O'Keefe, in fact, called Mr. Shirley, said that he should get the Citizen Journalist of the Year award or Lifetime Achievement Award for Citizen Journalist. Mr. Shirley, in high school, videotaped himself doing pranks. He did a fake giveaway of tickets to some concert and then recorded people's disappointment when it turned out the whole thing was fake. He liked to try to break into celebrity weddings and videotape himself at these weddings and so on and so forth. He then went on his mission. It appears as if he's a Mormon. I haven't gotten any confirmation of that anywhere, but the Mormonism is the only American religion that I'm aware of that requires basically a 2-year mission to another country, which he did. He came back and decided he was a journalist. He did a video exposing all of the corruption in Minnesota. Unfortunately, there really was and still remains a good deal of corruption in Minnesota. But what he did was he went to 9 different daycares, Somali daycares in a Somali section of Minneapolis, and did his, quote, investigation. Now, he worked with a guy named, was it Bob or Dan? I forget, but we learn his first name, and we know the color of his shirt. That's all we know. We don't know if he's got any skills investigating. We don't know if his other shirt is a tinfoil hat. We don't know. He seems the kind of guy that his other shirt is a tinfoil hat. And he claimed to know a whole bunch of daycares that were fake. They went to 9 daycares. In one of the incidents that he records, in all of them, nobody wants to talk to him. And he's just like very suspicious. They're not wanting to talk to me. I'm some young kid asking questions with another guy shouting, did you know that this much money is missing? Did you know this? Did you know? And they don't want to talk to me. And then one of them blatantly, to her credit, good for her for being honest, he says, why won't you talk to me? And she said, you're white. And he's just like, oh, isn't that racist? Are you a racist now? And so I'm delighted that A, he was stupid enough to say that, and B, that he was stupid enough to include it, because what that shows is he's not interested in anything but race baiting, rage baiting, and just trying to get attention. That's all he gives a shit about. Because if what he cared about was whether or not there was actual fraud at any of those institutions, he'd have sat down for, an interview and talked, and you can hear him just like, he's made up a story about his son that he wants to bring in to daycare, and he tells this story to everyone. Can my son come to this daycare? And he doesn't even try to sound genuine. He almost is trying to sound fake. He's trying to instigate and to get, and it's just it's one big goddamn setup. He has 3 million subscribers. He's got, I think, 1.1 million subscribers, 3 million views on that video, which was picked up by, I think it was Pete Hegseth, who forwarded it to Kristi Noem. And he basically reaches the conclusion that all 9 didn't have any kids in them and were all fake. And whoever ran them was obvious. And he goes to one, tries to open the door won't open. And he's like, everything's blacked out. The windows are blacked out. He's trying to open the door, can't open it. He's like, it's business hours. It's a Monday. Why aren't they open? They're not open because that facility didn't open for another month and a half after that. It wasn't scheduled to open yet. It hadn't even taken in any kids yet. That's why it didn't open. Based on his conspiracy video, the Waltz administration investigated all 9 of them. Found 1 was not yet open. 1 was based on the inspection. 2 based on their inspection, had their licenses pulled, but in both cases it was for regulatory failures. They didn't have the sockets properly covered or didn't have a sufficient amount of whatever. It was a regulatory issue. There was no fraud found in any of them. 2 of them nonetheless subsequently closed due to death threats when his viral video got 3 million views. So what's the real story? The real story is that possibly even more than $1 billion is missing from at least 22 companies that set up that were fake companies themselves. They set themselves up as providing services, usually Medicaid, and then not actually providing those services to anyone, faking records and getting Medicaid money. Why this was not caught by the state, nobody knows. Whether Waltz could even win a 3rd term if he tried, because he is profoundly unpopular for this particular reason. And this is, as I said before, one of the largest, this is possibly the largest Medicaid or Medicare scam or fraud in the history of the U.S. Because this idiot said it was Somalis. And I wanted to get back to the woman. He asked one of them, why won't you talk to me? She said, you're white. ICE was already engaging in crackdowns. The metro surge had not yet started. But ICE was engaging in crackdowns across the country. These are Somalis. They are brown people in a country that is increasingly not liking brown people and electing people who have a penchant for wearing bed sheets over their head. She knows that most Americans are too stupid to realize that they have constitutional rights like everybody else, even if they're here illegally. And she knows she's got a white guy in her face who may be working with ICE. And the reason everything was covered at all of those facilities is because they want to protect the children, because some crazy white people end up going into neighborhoods like that and shooting it up. If there's going to be a mass shooter going into a neighborhood and just killing random people, I gotta tell you, statistically speaking, they're not going to be Somali. So he took all of this suspicion towards him as they're acting suspiciously. No, well, yeah. You're sitting there asking them questions at the worst possible time to be a legal immigrant to this country, because those are getting deported to CCOT too. The law doesn't apply. They know that. So it was after his video got into the hands of the Trump administration, which they did publicly. They just did right over Twitter. Like, oh, you got to see this. That's why he's got 3 million subs. That they sent ICE over there and focused specifically on the Somali community. Now, they like to paint Democrats. As a result of this, they say, oh, we're for the fraud. In fact, it must be that we're behind the fraud. Because why else would we picket the ICE officers, who are immigration officers, trying to stop Medicare fraud in a state that voted against... That's it. So for those of you who are trying to figure out how this whole friggin' nightmare started and why they were focused on Somalis, that's why. It is absolutely clear that a portion of the people engaged in fraud were Somali. At least, I don't even know. I don't know the number of people, but it's at least 2 organizations. The founders and people running it were Somali. How many more than that? I don't know. But it wasn't Somalians calling up Somalia and going, hey, Bob, Jim, all my friends, come over and we're gonna rip off the United States. That's not what happened. So I know that in partisan politics, we all try to sometimes pigeonhole the other in terms of what their motives are. I would like to show you this. Aired on KARE. It's the NBC affiliate, Channel 11 for Minnesota. And it was on the effects. Oh, and let me, once again, volume is always an issue on this thing. It's the only reason I consider changing platforms is to have one where I don't have to worry about the volume every time I add something. So this aired on Channel 11, KARE, the NBC affiliate for the Twin Cities. I'm gonna wrap up. Brooks, thank you very much. I would love to have you on, but for let me see. Let me play this, and then we'll see where we stand. I want to figure it out. If not tonight, then soon. Here we go.
We're here for the eviction.
Janelle Hansen, she goes by Sky. Janelle Hansen, she goes...
Here we go.
Minnesota's fraud crisis came knocking.
We're here for the eviction.
Janelle Hansen, she goes by Sky, lived in a Minnetonka apartment when sheriff's deputies arrived.
I'm scared.
Armed with an eviction order for Jane or John Doe.
I'm not Jane or John Doe. That's what's confusing.
Sky lived here as part of a Medicaid program called Integrated Community Supports, or ICS. It's designed to help adults with disabilities live independently in their own apartment with one-to-one daily assistance. She was ordered to pack up what she could carry
Grab what you've just packed because we need to exit the apartment now.
and get out.
No, we need to go. Come on. We need to go.
Let's go. How are you?
Go.
Okay, sorry.
Out to the hallway.
And like that, a vulnerable young woman put on the street.
Buy house. Buy house involved.
How could this have happened? Our investigation finds it's tied to the allegations of Medicaid fraud now rocking Minnesota.
We've documented Sky's life of homelessness for the past 8 months, living out of her car, tents, shelters, and cheap hotels.
I think I just got kicked out of the hotels for being too autistic.
Her former caregivers, American Home Healthcare LLC, are under investigation for fraud. They were billing Sky's Medicaid $421 per day, claiming they always provided 12 hours of service.
Most days was like 2 hours maybe. 1 or 2 hours.
Under investigation, the company and its owner, Jamal Mohammed, stopped paying rent.
Okay, let's go. Come on. We go push this.
So Sky got evicted. Just one of the vulnerable people paying the price through no fault of their own for Minnesota's fraud crisis. Thrown onto the street, homeless.
They say that your home is in your heart.
As sad as that is, that video, I don't know whether I want to watch it 1,000 times or never see it again. To see the way she composes herself, which is not the way I would. I would not, even at my best. Even at my best.
Thrown onto the street,
I would not.
They say that your home is in your heart.
It makes me proud she's an American. Now, that is an example. That company apparently was providing less than 10% of the services they claimed to provide. They provided just enough that hopefully nobody was going to report them and notice that they weren't really coming in or it wasn't. And the whole thing has come crashing down. She is still homeless. The reason she's homeless is she was actually subletting to that company. So what happened was the company rented the apartment. They then charged her for the rent. She was fully up to date on the rent. She had paid all the rent on time, everything, and receiving 2 of the 10 hours of help that she was supposed to get. And my suspicion is that was the 2 that's online, because she was supposed to get 8 hours in person and 2 hours online, and she was only getting 2 hours a day. So my suspicion is nobody ever showed up. She got everything done. She had the rent paid. But the scam company stopped paying the rent. When warnings came, it went to the scam company, not to her, who kept paying the rent to the scam company, and Medicaid kept paying for her assistance, which she was not getting. Finally, they decided to evict her. They sent a notice so that it could be challenged in court, but the notice went to the company, not to her. When the judge approved the eviction, she didn't know, and they didn't know who was living there, because it was a company that was subletting it, which is why it was Jane or John Doe. Now, this aired a little while ago, and it's my sincerest hope that this aired in Minnesota. Again, this was Channel 11, the NBC affiliate over there, and it's been all over the news. It's the fraud over there is very, very real. And there's fraud of Medicare and Medicaid in every state, and every state needs to take responsibility for that. And the federal government has every right to be involved. They just don't have a right to send ICE in to beat the heads over either Somalis or anybody else. And just because there were definitely a number of Somalis involved in serious fraud over there, again, it's not like, okay, there may have been individuals. You don't go in and burn down an entire community because of what a couple of individuals did. We've seen that before. We know the end to that story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly check the live chat, and then I'm going to bring Brooks in, and I think he's maybe already in the green room, so we'll make sure that he gets in here. One membership gifted from KD9WNV. Thank you so much for that. And we have a new follower, Graham. Wow, I'm without my glasses. 197103010. Thank you, Graham, for becoming a member. We really appreciate that. So, was there anything else before we've covered the partial shutdown? Oh, there was one other thing I'd like to read, but I'm going to get Brooks in here first. He's going to want to hear this. So we've talked, again, repeatedly about the judiciary genuinely standing up to Trump in a way that I really very much appreciate. They did so again, I think it was today, a judge granted a stay by Senator Mark Kelly against Pete Hegseth and the DOD that was going to have him stripped of his retirement, or at least some of his retirement, for doing the video where he said you have a right to refuse orders. Oh dear Lord, the review from the judge was scathing. So, and it was good, and it was dead on, and humiliated Hegseth. So, yeah, no, it's not the DOW. If they rename it the DOW, I'll call it the DOW. But that's an act of Congress, and Congress has not seen fit to do it. So it's DOD. What can I say? It's not my fault. Rules are rules. All right. So let me go. Now this is unusual. Let me try to reconnect and get. Now I'm assuming, Brooks, you've got the link. It's the same as always, but for some reason the connection here is giving me an issue. So I'm going to reconnect here, and hopefully I'll be able to snag you. There we go.
Hello?
Hello. How are you, good sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing well, thank you. And let's see if we can find a thing. I have, as you know, a very big ego, so I need one where, like, I'm the biggest in the box.
You know what? Just leave my camera out of it. I'm fine with it. It's fine. This is lovely.
There you go. You just have to be Mouty. How's it going?
So first off, I want to say that it's been great sort of having you show up randomly every night. This has been very good. So the Minnesota fraud thing is actually an extraordinary case study in the old lie thing. How a lie can go around the world multiple times for the pants of truth. Truth has time to put his pants on. Yep. You keep citing it, and you're not an unlearned person, and a lot of people have been citing it. I even cited it. When we talk about $9 billion in fraud in Minnesota, do you know where that
I said $1 billion. From? I said $1 billion.
And you know what? The answer is actually only $250 million.
Well, and so just to be clear on what I said, he had agreed up to the 250, and he was asked, could it be as high as $1 billion, and he said yes, it could.
The $9 billion that everyone's citing comes from someone from the Department of Justice saying there might be.
Oh, so God. Okay, yeah.
The 250 to maybe 350 million in already completely adjudicated and completed fraud cases. Like, it's been done for years. None of this is current fraud. None of this has been really under actually Waltz as a thing. These are 4 or 5 year old activities that were prosecuted 3 or 4 years ago. The 250 to 350 million doesn't even touch as a drop in the bucket. But the reason it has worked is because basically racism, because a lot of the other fraud does touch into the Somali migrant population, which is significant there. And so people go, oh, therefore all of it must be part of the same cabal. It would be as if I said, for example, boy, these Jews in New York committed fraud. All the Jews in New York must be doing fraud. Yeah. And we would go, well, that's a little fucked up. We don't do it here. Just this year, just this year, like, again, if you want to talk about, again, 250 to 350 million is the only confirmed adjudicated cases. Nothing else has even been charged. Just to be very clear, nothing else has been charged as a thing. So this is a wild setup. But just this year, and I mentioned it in the thing, it's called Operation Gold Rush, which is an extraordinary amount of fraud in the American healthcare system, specifically $11 billion in Medicare alone as part of a, and this year, and by the way, you're not hearing about it, guess what country did it, by the way, what country the guys are from? It's not Somalia, it's Russia. 11 billion. And if you look into it, it's an extraordinary amount of fraudulent claims. There's 325 fucking defendants. It is a massive case that just, we don't want to talk about as a thing. But we could also just go back to this year alone. There was a case in Arizona that was 250 million is not even as much as like Rick Scott's thing. There are Republicans actively part of the machinery who have committed more fraud than all of these people put together that we're talking about. Like, that's how little the truth is here. So when Nick Shirley's going, oh, well, look, there's all this fraud. None of these guys could be connected. It's all purely racism.
Well, and not only did all 9 of them were investigated by the local authorities, CBS, NBC, and the federal authorities, and none of them found any fraud. 2 did lose their licenses, but it was to regulatory issues, not fraud. So they hadn't, and one of them wasn't open yet, which is why he couldn't open the door.
And so when you have these really weird things, like you post and you connect autism services, I believe was the video you just showed, like, God, what a heartbreaking, awful thing. And it pulls on you, especially if you're sensitive to people who have autism and are mentally non-normative. It's like a horrifying video. But like, these things don't have connections. They're not, like, aside from being in cold areas and there being fraud in Medicare and Medicaid, there's nothing. There's so much fraud that these things are almost drops in the bucket. And so when we're talking about like 250 or 350 million that was adjudicated years ago, or 100 million, I think is what the autism service is, the thing that you were just talking about, the kickbacks and all that crazy shit that they were doing. Even 400 million, it doesn't even fit in the top 5 or 10 this fucking year. So it's just, this is where, when we start having these conversations, it's important to really, I think, put them in the proper perspective. This is one of the things that it's been frustrating to sort of watch, is you see it. It's like this one asshole from the DOJ makes a statement and everyone just goes, God, there's billions of dollars in front. It's like, there's not. It's over. It was adjudicated. Investigations were done, and there's nothing happening. And because of racism, literally good old bred in the wool, I'm a white man in America, racism that's built into us, people are at large thinking that there's some larger thing. That's literally it. And I have no reason to believe otherwise. People are free to share otherwise, but that's how horrifying this is to me.
Well, that was the pretext for Operation whatever it was that sent all of ICE down there, was the Somalis. We got to get the Somalis because they're doing all the fraud. And
because of racism.
Yeah.
And again, a white woman led that.
Yes.
Like, if you didn't know, a white woman actually led it. Like, the DOJ has their, like, who did this and how it was organized, and she was at the top. So, like, the idea that Somalis are behind it, like some cabal, is straight up 3 Jews in a cave run the economy, conspiracy, psychotic racism. And it's really depressing to me that this, I think Tim Walz had a really significant future in politics, and that he let this happen, and that the world let this happen, is going to be a thing that I think we're going to be paying for some time.
He did say he's not going to run for any office ever again. He looked really good, I thought, as the VP choice. I liked him a lot.
I think the Republicans put him and his kid and his family through a lot more than I think he was ready for. Like, they're generally evil pieces of shit. You have to remember what they did to his son and how they've been chasing his son around, who has autism. Like, the videos of following him, it's like there's a point where, you know what, fuck the world, I'm going to take care of my kids. I get it. And we're going to be paying for this for a very long time.
Well, and that was the other thing. None of those 9 And this guy was retweeted by Hegseth, who sent it, I want to say to Christy Nome. I got it in my notes somewhere, but I'm too bothered to go look for it. But it's the administration clearly saw that video, and not a single one of them had anything. What was the other? Oh yeah, and two have since closed because of death threats. These are kids, daycare centers that had to close because of death threats, because a cute kid, a smug kid, thought he could get cute, and now O'Keefe is praising him.
A bunch of big angry white guys want to break into a Muslim minority daycare. I can't imagine why they wouldn't let people go in. Like,
I know,
it's an on its face absurd thing. But again, how it's edited and how it's talked about, how Andrew Callahan gave cover to this person as if he's just a useful idiot rather than a spiteful, actually bad, racist piece of human garbage. Like, the whole thing, I think, there's very few things that actually affect me politically that really change my understanding of how things work. Watching all of this unfold has been like, oh, no one cares actually what's going on. It's my team versus the other team, and we're presuming facts instead of just going, hey, how many actually this stuff was 6 years old. This is a really old case. Not even close to the top 10 this year, let alone the year it was prosecuted. Oh, yeah, this doesn't matter. And so when you say, like, oh, it's 9 billion, it's this made up thing that has mimetically built into it everything. It's wild to me.
Why do you think Homan pulled out ICE from? Because this was the last thing. If I had it, this would be the last thing on the wheel that I'd have bet that it'd pull ICE out.
I was actually my first thing. I was talking about it on the stream the other day. My money is that Homan was going to do this because him versus, and I always get it wrong. I always call him Bovino, Bravino. There's a lot of those names that are like in this administration. Cowman, the bovine man. His thing has always been, I am a loud piece of shit and Nazi. And so he screams and goes in. He is a what I would call strong fascist. And I don't mean that there aren't other he's strong fascist. Tom Homan is not a strong fascist. Tom Homan is a bureaucratic fascist. So for him, it's about the rule of law applied, getting it even, setting up the systems. And that's, I think, the more terrifying version, because when we have someone who is doing the thing out in front and we can see it, versus someone like Homan, who is going to continue to have people without names dying in custody, that he's going to continue to in Texas. They moved the latest death from being the local coroner and medical examiner to being a military one that never releases records. That is, by the way, a fucking big goddamn deal. That's Tom Homan. That's Tom Homan. He understands the bureaucracy of all of it. That's the thing he's good at. That's why he did this under Obama. This is not like a dude who's only one-sided. Like, he is this thing. So the thing that's happening, he's not going to like stop ICE there. It's just there's no point in having 3,000 there, because that's not where this needs to be done. He's going to move it to the places where California is going to be, by the way, a major target of his. I think Florida and the South is going to be another one. He's going to go where it needs to be done, and we're going to see a huge amount of bureaucratic versions of this. And that's, I think, the switch that's taking place right now.
Now, the Texas one is right after the Texas coroner's office in Dallas, I think, found that ruled a death in ICE custody as a homicide. So they got one off as a homicide, and then they're like, oh, that's it. We're moving it to the military.
Correct. And now it's hidden, and now we'll never know.
So,
and they shut down El Paso airport. It just so happens to be right after a journalist had a drone that flew over the thing and got videos and photos of the absolute concentration camp nightmare dystopian thing. If you haven't seen the photos,
I have not.
I'll send them over. You can see that there are people in yellow, blue, and pink outfits because they're so dehumanized. They're scattered into men, women, and children as categories and colors of outfits that they wear in big groups. It's the most like, it's straight out of a nightmare. And this is, oh my God, immediately they figured out, oh, we're shutting it down. There's new rules about drones. There's all this. Weird timing. but I'm sure it has nothing to do with it being right after that. Why would I say such a thing?
For those of you who don't know, Brooks is one of our regulars who comes in, and he has yet never failed to come in and school me on something. So
I'm just a very sad pedant who just spends too much time researching things.
Yeah.
The rest of you have lives, sadly.
No, this is what I do all the time. Yeah. Okay, well, that's a scary answer, but it sounds like most plausible, and that's what I know of him. He's I want to say Himmler.
He's effective.
Yeah.
He's effective. I think one of the things, Homan is one of those that I think is very good to understand. To me, the Nazi analogy begins to fall apart. The Nazis were basically all drug-addicted morons who just didn't really understand what they were doing. Homan is terrifying because he is a hyper neoliberal, neoconservative type who is just so into this. He doesn't care about Trump. Like, he's not there for Trump. Homan is not there for Trump. Homan is there because he believes this is the best way for things to be, like the power of the bureaucracy. He is that guy. And that type of fascism, I made this comment and I've got a lot of shit for it because I don't believe strong fascism in the Hitler sort of sense is possible in America. And everyone's like, oh, and it's like, no, I'm not saying America's good. I'm saying our fascism is going to come fundamentally differently. And I think Tom Homan is the best indicator of what that is. I really do.
Yeah.
If Gavin Newsom is elected, he will keep Homan on.
Really?
That's my bet. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. If you want to take a look at Gavin Newsom's history on illegal immigration, take a look. It's not great. But he would absolutely keep Homan on as an olive leaf. Right. Oh, an olive branch. He's very good at what he does. We're going to tone it down, blah, blah, blah. You won't hear about it. And he'll go back to what Biden was doing. Again, Biden and Obama deported more people than Trump.
Yes.
Trump's putting them in death camps, which is horrifying. But again, that's horrifying in the Nazi way. Deporting all of these people and ruining lives is not like it's better than them dying, but it's not like it's good.
Yeah.
Right? It's not good.
Yeah. And both Biden and Obama averaged higher than well, actually, I think Obama's lowest numbers are higher than Trump has managed to hit yet, which is scary because I'm wondering, okay, is it just because all everybody's doing is going into neighborhoods and knocking heads and arresting everybody, and then they all get let out because you can't charge them with anything, or is it because a percentage of them are just vanishing off the face of the earth and aren't being recorded as being your?
Yeah, no, it's and then on top of it, there are people flatly just disappearing.
Yeah.
There's a TikTok I followed of a woman who got married. They went to the green card meeting, which was his final green card meeting, which, again, a lot of these people are going to their green card meeting, their immigration meeting. They're doing the thing.
They're following the rules.
They're supposedly Republicans care about. They don't. They're racist garbage. And instead, they arrested him, and she didn't hear from him again. And she only heard about him because someone recognized him who was released from a video she put out, and she could figure out where he was stationed. But then he was
the
gone.
CCOT. Is this the CCOT guy?
No,
or was
this is
another one. For fuck's sake!
They were in San Diego, and then she found him. He was supposed to be in, I think it was at one point Louisiana, and then she went there, and he's not there, and no one will explain where he is. Her husband, who is supposed to have legal protections because he's a fucking human. And they won't, she's not alone. She is a not well-off person. She doesn't have a ton of money. People are supporting and helping her. She's trying to get through it. But imagine if you were yourself illegal. Imagine if you were yourself someone who didn't have money and your husband, your daughter, your child is just gone. You don't have the ability to fly somewhere. You can't make a stink anywhere. This is happening way more than we want to understand. And there is a good chance these people are dead. And until they are shown otherwise, we should assume this, because this is how it started. If you don't remember the history books, this is how it started.
Well, I want to point
disappearing.
I want to point two things out. First, what Titan said is true, and Maudy has talked about this on the other hood, so hopefully we can drop the link, and maybe Maudy is still here. But Hitler had a real fondness for American eugenics, and actually learned a lot of what started their programs from the U.S. and from Jim Crow laws and stuff like that, and we don't think about that.
We're very good at racism.
Yes, we're
very good.
Oh, the Jim Crow laws were elegant, which is scary.
And it's a unique kind of racism. A lot of people, there's a few books written that are really interesting on the difference in racism when it comes to the UK and the US, which people tend to put in the same bucket. Because, of course, the UK genocided, 1 billion people in India. They're awful humans. But the racism is fundamentally different because it had to do with thinking they're a different race, but there's something inherent in American white supremacy that is built in that the UK had as a cultural thing. It's a really interesting sort of deviation in the way that the US really, really bakes in this racial component. And it's, again, when people hear, and the next time you hear anyone say, well, 9 billion in fraud in Minnesota, they're flatly just doing the thing. And they don't know it. They may not know it, but it is just that.
Yeah, Titan, why don't you send me a DM to that, and you can send that when you got a moment. You don't need to, just whenever's good, and I will remember to hook Maudy up with Brooks.
We've chatted.
He's been doing his own program specifically on IQ, eugenics, and because he teaches psychology at Rutgers, and he might want to have you on his show to discuss some of this, because I think so. Because
all of it's lies. Not him, but the idea of IQ and all of that. The idea there's a measurable version of any of those things is flatly insane.
And the two of you, and I'm sure he'd love to have you on. So I'll make sure that just if Titan sends me a reminder, I'll make sure that gets done. Also, I'd like to point out, and this is one of the things I is andering. Most of our audience is on. Also, LJ Boone said reservations, and I want to make sure that we didn't talk about genocide. It's hard. It's hard to know where to go after. It's something that we. I think so far what I've seen of Germany's approach to just always acknowledging it.
It's the thing, as that Marxist I have to be, the material realities, the material conditions are the thing to realize. Germany, when Hitler rose to power, was not a country larger than fucking Europe. Like, this is America. I have this conversation where it's like, hey, if, let's say someone in Paris decided, if I was in Portland, I need to go actually protest my president. If you're in France, it's like 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours by train. Great. Yeah. For me, it is a 3-day fucking drive to the other side of Moscow. Like, it's Paris to the other side of Moscow. So when you're
I thought you meant just because Trump is never mind.
No, I'm just like, if I'm going to
save the compromise. Yeah.
I'm not, I can fly, but I can drive. Like, this is not that's not an easy trip. You don't do that on a lark. You do an hour on a lark because you're like, fuck it, I'm going downtown today. I can't go to DC today. That's not a thing that exists in any capacity for people on the West Coast. That's a 6-hour flight minimum. And that's like 10 hours of your life, and then you're done. And you're not doing it. So that's not a thing that happens. And that's like best case scenario. So the way that Hitler was able to do what he was doing was dependent on small country, lots of poverty, handful of very particular, pretty monolithic cities. Well, people in Germany will get pissy. The difference between, I don't know, Berlin and Hamburg, you might think is huge. It fucking ain't. Like, it's not the same thing as Portland to Baton Rouge, right? These are fundamentally as different as Paris to Moscow. Like, they're wholly different cultures, even though it's all America. These things are things that are necessary to overcome in order to have a singular, strong blood and soil type fascism. And I don't fundamentally think it's possible here in that way. That doesn't mean we don't have another form of it, and we can't learn from how they did it, how they were able to do this, and how they were able to set it up. Because the worst thing is the bureaucratic, fascism will come wrapped in a flag with a cross around its neck. That kind of thinking, good. It's a start. But we need to understand the way that the bureaucracy of things functions, the way these things are set up is so built into us that people today are still like, Trump is going to look at the Congress. They are stopping his fucking tariffs. Are you all dumb as fuck? Like, what the fuck are you talking? What the fuck are you talking? At no point did he give a shit about Congress in the first place. Why is this law going to be the thing? Why would this be the thing he's going to listen to? Like, that's how attached we are as liberal Americans to the bureaucracy that exists here. And so if we're that built in that we think a single vote in Congress is like a good sign, we're horrifically fucked in the long run. But that means fascism is going to take a different pace, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to rant. It's I could go fucking on and on. You know.
Yeah, well, that's why I said we gotta invite you on and have a show where we just have you on for a downtime, you and Commander, which is normally what we would be doing at this time anyway. Well, let's have you on for a downtime.
That's always fun.
Those are good. The only other thing I wanted to point out, because I remember this. And I remember it was the first moment where I was just like, I see you. I already knew roughly who Trump was. But when the very first BLM protester picked up off the streets in a mommy van by presumably a police officer in a military uniform, no identification, picked up, and it was a random one, except it happened to be one of the head, and went to a secret court with no records, and was detained, didn't know where they were, who had no call, no representation, and then eventually let loose. And like, well, they were let out, so it's okay. I was like, yeah, that's how Pinochet started. That was literally Pinochet first started, and they were warnings. There were warnings like, maybe next time you don't come back. Maybe next time we go fly out over the ocean, and And was that Pinochet? Yeah, that was Pinochet. I think it was, yeah. So that's exactly how Pinochet started, and I'm sitting there going, the second I saw that was when Sandring ended up becoming a co-host. It was just like, can I come on like every day to fight this guy? It's like, yeah, let's do it.
But he's on the underlying thing, and it's what. You remember how all of us were really upset about the kid? Like, there was the kid with the cute hat that went absolutely viral, that ICE detained this 5-year-old. And immediately the Trump and ICE and all of them were like, we were giving him cookies. We were caring for him. We're not going to do anything like that, blah, blah, blah. And they made this huge fucking deal. And all of the conservatives got behind, all the right-wingers, again, they're touched. So they all got behind it. And then we all forgot. And then yesterday we found out that he's actively being deported on his own without his parents right now. So they are deporting him. So we don't give but how did you hear about this?
No, I did not. And I'm a fucking news guy. I didn't hear about this. I heard I had heard that they had both been released.
Oh no. No.
Well, yes, released, but just in Abu Dhabi, or Nigeria, or El Salvador.
A couple days ago, here it is. U.S. moves to deport 5-year-old detained in Minnesota. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security said on Friday it's seeking to deport 5-year-old Ecuadorian boy who was detained in Minnesota last month, the one that went viral. Yeah, just straight up. Here's the link to the Reuters article, which is what you need. Like, this is how fucked up all of this is this is happening at this level so constantly that there is no response. Because all we have, again, because we're attached to and invested in this larger bureaucracy that Homan is also invested in, which is why we're fucked, all we can do is go, you're a hypocrite, I'm proud of myself. And that's the end of the discussion. It's, don't you see you did the wrong thing? I know the right thing. I am very good. And instead of like trying to genuinely figure out a way to break this or change this or giving an alternative, I sent you a link to CNN going over the woman whose husband.
Oh, yes. As well. Yep, I do. Thank you.
It's the whole thing, her TikTok is heartbreaking to watch. It's genuinely like awful, and I'm not quite sure. Like, there's no way of like preparing for it, but I just letting you know, like, it's
okay.
All of these things that are happening constantly. Yeah, again, it's not like it's gore or anything, but it's like she is very upfront. She's like, yesterday we were planning our lives together. Now the breadwinner of my home is gone, and I don't know how I'm going to make rent, so I think I'm going to be homeless in a few weeks. That's how she starts the thing. So it goes downhill from there. Like, it's so fucked. And this is where all of this is. Every single thing is constantly this. The woman in Chicago who they shot because she was boxing in ice. We now have the fucking vest footage that shows not only was she not boxing them in, they rammed her off the road and then high-fived each other and said, "Good job, Steve, for shooting that bitch." And it's like,
yep.
What the fuck? But we know it's all a lie. We know it's all a lie. And it puts you in a place where I saw a video. It's a little cartoon someone made, very simple. And it's the president at a press conference. And they go, so your name has been seen in the Epstein files again today. And he goes, yeah, look, I did all of it. I did everything in there. Whatever. And he's like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I did everything in it. I just did. Look, I'm going to admit to it. It's depressing and awful. But look, I've got these tariffs I care about. But wait, don't you? No, we're moving on. And that is it. Am I wrong? Is he wrong that that's what would happen? Yeah, I totally raped and ate children. But can we get on back to these tariffs?
I'd like to think he's wrong, but so far, most of the bets I've made, I've lost in regards to what America will or will not tolerate. I'm becoming a cynic. I did want to say the only thing I found on the 5-year-old.
Be a cynic. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Well, becoming cynical. I suppose there's a very big difference between becoming a cynic and being cynical. No, all I could find on the 5-year-old boy was intends to deport him and tried to fast track him for deportation, but I haven't found anything on him actually getting deported.
Oh, no, not yet. It's on its way.
Okay, so he's
got a big lawyer, but if you remember, it was only 3 weeks ago. They were like, we'd never deport a child. What are you nuts? We're not cold, evil pieces of shit for at least another 2 weeks.
Yeah. We're giving him cookies for 2 weeks.
Yep.
I have a sneaking... Okay, I'm going to tell you my theory.
Let's do it. I like theories.
I think, because I've been trying to figure this out, I've been trying to figure out why it is that MAGA really doesn't give a shit about morals, as far as I can tell, in any meaningful way. They don't give a shit about the laws that the previous conservatives seem to care about, or the Constitution. They care about us returning to Western values, by which I don't think they mean values. I think they mean heritage in terms of Caucasian and European, yada, yada, yada. But I've always been trying to figure out why all of a sudden do they give a shit about the Epstein files. And, previously, I had just decided, well, it was a quantitative thing, that we just finally got to something that was so awful, even MAGA was like, okay, you've gone a line too far. But now I'm thinking that's not why. I'm thinking it's because that kind of activity could potentially pollute the gene pool, and that kind of activity could potentially damage their women. And that's why they're pissed about it.
They're cattle. They're cattle. They're stock.
Yes.
That's dark, my friend.
I told you.
That's fucking dark.
I told you. I'm getting more cynical. I'm jumping to the because I can't say it can't be quantitative. It can't just be that he's gone too far, because they've actually been serious about it. And every time it comes back in the news, it wouldn't have gotten back in the news if the right hadn't at least acquiesced and said, yeah, you guys can talk about this, we won't distract. And they've done more than that. There have been people on the right that have actually, and MAGA has actually, without... what's her name?
I think it's simpler than that.
Okay, please.
I hate to say that.
No, please. I hope you're right.
So every time, and this has happened, even Bondi in her fucking lunatic way, and all these Republicans are using this talking point now that is fucking insane to me, why didn't no one care about this under Biden? And it's like, literally all of you did. Trump ran on this. Like, this was the thing. You cared about this. This was the thing you gave a fuck about the entire time. The whole point was that rich people and the elites, Jews, but the elites are doing horrifying things to children. I mean, it's Jews. That's what it is for all these people.
I'm aware.
Like, it's crazy. It's just the way they are. But that thing they ran on, and they beat people's head into the fucking ground with it. This is the thing. And then, lo and behold, fuck, it is a thing. They didn't like, there's a very good chance a vast majority of people who do care about it do care about this. The child function in the way that, and this is all conspiracy theories, the way that they work is about sort of recoding political impulses, the political attachments we have through this triangle of the family, the child being the thing with which we are both, man and woman, meant to protect. It is a very specific thing that, as a child, I was the thing my parents protected. My dad only ever talked about us and like against each other. Don't talk to my wife that way instead of your mom. And my son would never say something like that. Like, it's a possessive, paternalistic instinct that is baked into American culture. And so when you have the child at the center of this, you get to channel everything that exists politically, all frustrations, back through the family as a threatened singular unit. The child in danger becomes a transcendent, I'm sorry to use fucking weird words, but it becomes this thing that makes the paranoiac, the conspiracy theorist, the right wing, like, aroused because it coheres their view. It is a way of stapling everything together into the child. The micro-fascism of the family brought to whole. And so when suddenly everyone is able to actually attach to, like, there is actually that little thing that suddenly all the rest can crystallize around, which there wasn't before. Like, we knew there was this, like, we know there's a bunch of, I didn't think this went this far. Like, genuinely, I always thought there were fucking gross pieces of shit in all these political positions. The shit I'm reading in the files is so next level. Like, parts of it I'm still incredulous about. So it's so bad. But there's also too much of it for me not to go, well, this is actually just an accurate thing. There's enough of people. Jeffrey Epstein was a high school teacher who probably banged his students, found a guy who wanted to bang his students, recorded him, and the blackmail began. And it kind of grew in this direction. And it grew into this massive multinational, like wealth craziness because all these people are pieces of shit, which is not a shock. Now, all of them can still stay invested in that. And there's no turning away. You can't say, there's nothing that angers MAGA right now more. And trust me, I've made the comment to a handful of people who have been able to stand up to a lot of stuff. But the moment I say, hey, you support someone who's protecting kid fuckers, that's it. They break. They will lose their shit on you, say that you're wrong, blah, blah. But they can only do that so far because they are already invested in this very particular view of paternalism that exists in America.
I'm going to need to remember that line. I've already got a mental list of, I should try that on.
You should say it. If you say it, you have to say it in the most shocking way because that is the thing they have to deal with. You have to force them to have resonance with what they have become. The worst thing you ever saw anyone claim about Hillary Clinton, that is what they actually are now. Like, we're not doing the weird epithet like, oh, she ordered pepperoni pizza, which therefore meant this, like reference to reference to reference. Donald Trump actively said, stop stealing my girls, because Jeffrey was taking underage girls and hiring them from the massage parlor at Mar-a-Lago, which is not a place to have underage girls working at all. No matter, I don't give a fuck. The fact she was already underage there, kind of, I don't need Jeffrey and the rest of that. The fact that he's like involved, that alone, I'm good. I kind of get the idea here. And so the moment that you are actively protecting this scale, and they are, because anyone who says anything else, you can just point to and say, hey, well, they left the victims' names public so that way
Yeah.
their little troll army of nightmares can threaten them, do their thing, and put them in their place. They can intimidate witnesses. And they hid the rich and powerful that they weren't supposed to hide because that's what they do. That's all I need to see as well. If they had just actually dumped all the files and there was like a few people who called in saying weird shit about Trump, I'd probably be more incredulous. But the fact they're doing all of this to this level, and the fact we're seeing that they're not protecting Trump, that's the other side that has completely fucked with me. My assumption has been that they were protecting Trump, or Trump was protecting himself and Lang. They're all implicated. Like everyone in he basically curated his cabinet. Like, there's a reason Matt Gaetz was supposed to be Pam Bondi.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Right? Like this, there's a reason for that. There's a reason Letnick's in there. There's a reason all of these horrifying people who are in the files are in there. They're all protecting themselves. And it's not protecting Trump only, it's all of them. And it gets worse as you dive into it. The longer you find things, the weird shit you find, it's that awful.
Well, and that's why Pam Bondi, I can't imagine anybody but the most drug-addled, like somebody who just truly does think Trump is the second coming of Jesus. Anything short of that, doing what she did, other than it's in her best interest to keep them from asking the questions, in part because any answer she gives is going to be perjury, and they'll be able to prove it, so she can't answer the questions, and because... I have a slight change to this, and I'm not going to say you're wrong. I just have a different thought. Please.
I don't think that these people worship Trump, and I don't think Trump is under the misapprehension that they do. He doesn't care.
No,
what he cares about is that they bend the knee. The best thing for him, and this is again in the files. This is how the girls talk about one guy specifically over and over, but they talk about multiples. This is a very specific personality type who enjoys power as part of the sexual experience, and power as he did on The Apprentice. The more you hate him, but you bend the knee, the better it is for him.
Yeah.
So if you actually think he's great, you're not even interesting to him. There's a reason like Laura Loomer allegedly had the relationship she did, and then he just tossed her aside because it's not interesting when that's the case. The more someone is aware of the piece of shit he is, yet tells him that his shit doesn't stink, that's the good stuff that he loves. That's what power's about.
It's the fire and water scene from 300. Like, well, you don't actually want anything from you. Just give us a token, the fire and the water, and we don't worry about us. You know, everything will be good. Show us bend the knee, and that's it. And that's why I really respect this.
The angrier they are, the worse. Again, these people, my biggest worry is that we end up with someone like Gavin Newsom as the running mate, as the person who runs this next time around, because presidential candidate for the Dems, because short of a genuine reckoning, this is the direction America goes. There's a wonderful book by John Dolan. I won't say the name out loud because I'm pretty sure it's toss, but it has to do with a different way that we should have ended the Civil War. It had to do with, I have a bunch of paintings. They're on the ground. I really should hang all of them.
Yes, okay.
Like, I really should. It's just terrible. They're on the ground, and I'm leaving the paintings there, and I should be hanging all of them, because that would make everything complete, and it would allow me to move forward in a better way. But if I leave them all on the ground, which is what I'm going to do, you end up just having them sitting there forever, and they end up basically ossifying into something horrifying. And that response is what we need to be considering, and I mean that. And then anything short of that, I think the world will never trust us again. American hegemony's gone anyway. But we're never going to be able to have a trade deal. We're never going to be able to have a peace treaty. We're never going to be able to be part of things again, because as long as 20,000 absolutely stupid, fool, racist pieces of shit in Ohio can change an entire country and then undo everything every 4 years, who gives a fuck about our stupid country anymore? We don't matter.
Trump proved that the first time when he threw out the Iran deal. I mean, it was just like, that was that. And Oh my God! He actually thought the transatlantic partnership was a trade deal. It's not a trade deal. It's a way to keep China from infringing on patent rights. But you don't.
Rumors are that he's currently really upset that the trade deal he negotiated, the Mexico, American, Canada, the big thing from his first term, he's upset he can't undo it. His own trade deal. Right now, there was a story this last week with a handful of sources that's like, so if we're in that position where no one can depend on us ever again, we fundamentally are going to see that's the way it goes. That's it.
All right. Well, sorry, I just got distracted by a quick DM there.
I'm keeping you late. I know I'm keeping you late, Nick.
Yeah, I'm going to head out. Is there anything? I did want to make sure. So, Quarantine Collective is your channel. I know it's been dropped already a couple of times, but if I could get one more drop for everybody, because for some people, first time seeing you, what do you guys usually talk about?
Well, we spend our time doing a lot of complex readings of French philosophy. I personally lead 2 readings live on YouTube, Tuesday and Thursday. I did a Klosowski, Nietzsche and the Vicious Circle earlier today, 2.5, 3 hours. And then on Tuesdays, we do our reading of Anti-Oedipus. We're on our 4th through the entire book, which is not an easy book. But we're actually doing a live retranslation of the entire thing as well from French. Because why not?
Do you want to
a book now.
Listen? Do you want to start a show right now, and we can, I'll vamp for 5 minutes, wrap up here, and we can just raid you.
I would love to. I'm fried from earlier, and I've got a script. I have 2 hours of recording I've got to redo. I've got a piece about how we fundamentally have a misunderstanding in this global, but in America, about what literacy is and how literacy functions, and it's an hour of one larger essay, and then it's 9 smaller ones that sort of fill in the conceptual framework around it. So it's a lot of recording and editing, obviously. It's a total of like 2.5, 3 hours of talking I've got to do right after this. So
I'm still at the level of editing where, for the most part, it takes me 5 minutes for every 1 minute of video. That's how bad I am at editing.
I've gotten to the point where I'm using OBS to do some live recording elements, so that way it saves my ass in post. Basically, I just sit there and I just hit a button to slight zoom, so that way I don't have to fuck around at all, because I can't tell you how. I'm a I was a Final Cut Pro trainer in a previous life. I'm a certified Final Cut Pro editor and trainer, and I can't tell you how much I hated when I switched to Premiere, and now I'm in DaVinci, and I hate it more. I hate everything. Everything sucks.
I miss my Final Cut Pro, yeah.
I miss Final Cut a great deal, but I'm not going back to it because it sucks now too. It's most of my stuff is just me looking at the camera and talking, luckily. So I just put it in. I just go, fuck it. I just edit here, zoom, click, boom, boom, boom. There's some easy shit. That's the thing.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to send everyone to Mercado, who is gaming right now. And so for anyone who feels like they need a break, go over there, say hi to him. He's been doing a good job, and he's been
we've appreciated him very much.
He's been raising awareness for because testicular cancer, and he's been very honest about it and open and streaming. And if people don't do that, people aren't going to get checked, and more people are going to die. So Merc is just the man.
2 weeks ago, I did a great deal of conversation around my colonoscopy. So for the exact same reason, by the way. I had 2 friends, one who is younger than me. Oh, well, no. If he had gotten checked at my age, he'd be alive right now. He's dead. And then another friend who died who's older. So, get checked. Talk to a doctor. It's important.
It is. Absolutely. All right, Brooks, thank you very much. We're gonna schedule a show with you on downtime. Our next downtime is a week from today. So, if you leave that Thursday night open, would love to have you on with Lance and I.
I'm generally pretty open.
All right.
I mean, I'm watching you anyway.
Yeah, so just ask to come in. We'll
It's
bring
not
you
like
in.
I'm doing anything important.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all the support. And, we're come join us on the Discord. You can see what we do and how we do it and how we put the news together. And I look forward to 2 or 3 days of not having breaking. I don't think I'm going to get it, but we'll see. We are expecting, like I said, the shutdown tomorrow night. It's partial. We've already described what we expect to see from it. And, so we're not going to cover that unless something big happens. Have a good night, everyone. Oh, and Brooks, just a reminder to send me those pictures from the drone because I do want that too. If you can do that.
One sec, because you could show them real quick. One sec.
No, I'm gonna want to go over it before I show them, and
All
I'm
right, fair.
heading out. All right, have a good night, all, and see you next time. Good night.